Oh, hello there. Hey, it's Knudson. We're back down here in the shop, and today we're going to kind of do something I've already done before, but talk about a little kind of $8 piece that I may even have used before in a previous video, but a way to kind of save some of the plastic parts on these OEM adapters. So nowadays the OEMs are getting a lot better with a lot of their driver and fairway hybrid adapters. They're becoming more metal, less plastic. A lot of the plastic stuff on there, when you go to try to swap them out, it tends to melt or deform or just becomes unusable again. So there's a little like $8 kit on the GolfWRX website. They supply a lot of tools and parts and all that for us tinkerers. But they make a little kit that's like $8 or $7 that helps you. It's called an OEM adapter saver. Now, you can pull most adapters with a regular shaft puller, so you're not really saving it, but it will kind of help you save some of the hard plastic ferrules and some of that on some of these adapters. Now, some of them, it doesn't matter. As soon as there's a little bit of heat, they melt. There's just no way around some of that. The adapters themselves are still typically usable, but they lose some of their cosmetic good looks. But this is, I've got here like an older Callaway sleeve, and this one here is the older one because it has the plastic very tip end, but it also has a plastic ferrule on it as well. And it'd be great if we could save the ferrule for use again later, but we're going to pull this off because I've got a Fujikura Motore Speeder 665 for my dad. He's got one already in his set that I just regripped, but he's got another driver head he's going to try, and he really likes this shaft, so we're going to swap this shaft into a different adapter. So this kit here, like I said, it's like $8. It's pretty cheap, so to get it, it's not too big of a deal. It's basically a pretty heavy-duty thick washer, and then a couple different size bolts depending on what type of adapter you have. So you basically just pick the adapter you have, slide the washer on it, and then just screw it into the tip here. And once you do that, you can then put it in your puller, apply a little heat, and pull the sleeve right off instead of trying to have to push it down, which will typically destroy any type of ferrule that's on this. So let's go ahead and kind of see how it works, see if we can save this ferrule. Like I said, it's not always possible, but a lot of times with like some of these Callaway TaylorMade, some of these are harder plastic, or like Ping's kind of more of a rubber. Sometimes using something like this little kit, you can save those pieces. Again, other times it really depends, and sometimes you can't. So we're going to go ahead and pop this little plastic tip off, take off these rings, and then we'll see if we can save the hard plastic ferrule on this sleeve. All right, again, Callaway's kind of got this this little plastic cap here. I've already loosened it up. Sometimes you can just pop these off with your thumb. It takes a little bit of pressure. Other times, like this one, I had to kind of take a small screwdriver and kind of just bend the little flaps back just a touch to get them off. And it's, like I said, you got to be really careful because these break really easily. You can break these little tabs off pretty easily. But then you just take off the rings, and that way you're left with just the basic OEM tip. And then, like I said, you put this heavy washer through this hex bolt, and you just thread it on your adapter. And you just thread it all the way in. It's got a little play here because once you put it in your puller here, you'll see you'll have a little bit of kind of space there. So you'll want to put your shaft kind of in there and then lock it down. And then this way it's going to pull the adapter clean off. Now with this here also, you want to try to keep your heat down farther away from the ferrule because, I mean, we're trying to save it. So again, probably a little better with a heat gun, but I like to use my torch because I can kind of center the heat more around the bottom part of the shaft, keep it away from the ferrule there, and basically start applying pressure as soon as you start putting some heat on there. And you should feel the shaft kind of pull out. I'm pulling the shaft through the smoke you're seeing there is actually from just some old epoxy that's on my shaft puller there. So that should be good. There it goes, and you'll see it breaks away. And right now the ferrule's in really great shape. Pull that all the way off, and you'll see the ferrule is actually almost perfect. I mean, I think it had a touch of bubbling right near the end, but this way we'll now just clean off the rest of the epoxy on the shaft, and then we'll use the puller to push that off. It'll leave a little indentation there, but overall you're at least going to save the ferrule for the most part. So now to clean off some of the epoxy, what I like to do is take your knife, any type of utility knife, and scrape off some of the excess epoxy. Now when you scrape it, you do not want the blade to go towards the shaft, the sharp end. You want to basically tilt it away from the shaft. So when you're pulling it, you'll actually pull the sharp part of the blade is on the back side. So you're not going to dig into the shaft or damage any of the fibers. And what this will do is scrape off some of that epoxy there that's built up, and then that way we should be able to pull the ferrule off. So again, you want to keep the blade tilted away from the shaft so it goes that way. Definitely do not put the sharp end towards the shaft, because you will damage the fibers in it. So then I like to run this over just to kind of remove some of the big chunks of epoxy that are on there. And then we'll take a little bit of sandpaper and kind of sand it down as well, so that way it'll be a little easier to get this adapter off. And then we'll take a little bit of sandpaper and kind of just sand off the rest of that excess epoxy. And the nice thing is then we're also kind of doing our tip prep as well. So we're kind of doing two things, killing two birds with one stone. All right, now we'll use our puller to kind of push the ferrule off the end of the shaft. All right, so once you clean off all the epoxy and everything, stick it back in your shaft puller, and then you just want to kind of pull off. There we go. Kind of pull off the ferrule there, so it should slide off with pretty minimal damage to it. You'll see it'll pop down here. And yeah, you can see there's a little marking on the top in terms of where the puller hit it, but overall it's still in good shape, and we can use it again for another install. So yeah, pretty easy to just pull off there. And now we'll just do a touch more prep, and this will be ready to install. So that's pretty much all there is to using that little OEM tip saver. Again, that one worked. I've had it before where it didn't, and you weren't able to get the ferrule off without kind of melting it. So it all depends, but it's a cool little piece for $8 to kind of have on your bench, and to kind of help you save those plastic parts on some of those OEM tip adapters. It's something that doesn't break the bank, and it's easy to use. So I'll put a link to it in the description. And if you have any questions, comments, whatever, let me know. But again, this was another episode of The Shop, and we'll see you next time.